Welcome to the Seeds of Wisdom series, brought to you by From a Loving Place with author Rachel Wolf. If you like deep, meaningful conversations, this is your place. So settle in and enjoy today's guest. Disclaimer: the Seeds of Wisdom digs into some deep subject matter. In order to plant a seed, we have to dig in the dirt. That's how we grow. If any of the subject matter feels like too much, it is important to seek your own mental health support. I did, and it's why I'm able to be here doing this today. Hello and welcome to episode 24 of Seeds of Wisdom. Today's seed is empowerment for an empath with my very special guest, Cynthia Spiece. I'm so excited to have you on because you have actually done a reading for me that was so extremely helpful, and it helped redirect my energy that was totally out of flow and to help me just focus on what feels good to do. And it made such a drastic impact on what I was going through. So I'm so excited to have you here and talking about this powerful subject. So please introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you for having me. Yes, so my name's Cynthia Spiece. As you said, what I do is I read energy. I read the frequencies, the flow of energy around a person when they come to me for a reading or a session. I do other things besides psychic or intuitive reading, whatever you like to call it. But my main focus is the readings, and then I branch off from there. Um, I am able to sense if there is alignment in someone's energy field or misalignment. And then I work with that person in my own psychic gifts to help them figure out where, if there is misalignment, where the misalignment is. And then we go in and begin to, I ask source, or have the information come to me, what might be the best options to get that alignment back, what needs to be done. We could have a misalignment in the field of money, but it will affect relationships or health or some other area. Every area of our life is connected. So that's basically, what I do. I have other offerings. I do energy work. I work with the 7 energy centers to help get those. I do an assessment, and then that's done on a table, or it can be done remotely. I take people through guided meditations into their future self. They provide the criteria that they want to have in their vision of who they want to be. And I also do mediumship if they need to get closure or speak to someone who's passed on the other side. So those are the different things I offer.
Ah, and obviously it worked well for me. So I'm just one of the people that it worked
Good.
for.
I'm glad to hear that.
So let's get into the seed. What does empowerment for an empath mean to you? Where did it begin?
Well, it began. My path has been a difficult one. When I was about 13, I got my first tarot deck. I became very interested in numerology and astrology, and I began to teach myself these different so-called, woo-woo modalities, and then I realized I would know or feel to such intensity the emotions of other people. Um, I read a book which really describes, and I noticed, as you go through life, people tell you, when you're empathic, people tell you their stories. They're much more open to, and they feel comfortable in your presence enough to tell you what's going on with them. And I realized that I was fixing I wanted to fix them. And by reading this line in this book, um, that one of the reasons an empath will fix or rescue or do these things is because they feel the emotion of someone else so strongly and so deeply that they will go in and fix them so that they'll get the relief of the feeling. It's not necessarily about them. It's about, I need to feel better because I've just enmeshed my energy with their field, and I'm feeling their discomfort, their pain, or whatever's going on. And so I need relief. So these are the tools I go to get that relief. I'll go to offering advice, bringing them supplements out of my nutrition drawer. It just, the list is endless what we will do to help somebody else. But in essence, not to say that it isn't about them, because there is compassion. But a lot of it is, I want to feel better. I need to feel better. I feel off. Why do I feel off? Because in that association of somewhere, I became misaligned. And so as I was noticing that about myself, I began to really search out ways to stop leaking energy, because this is an, and since my work over the years has been energy, how energy works, that we are energy. You take away this human suit, we basically are energy. And so where are my leaks? And I have to had to look at where my leaks were. That being a deep feeler, which empaths are deep feelers, our feelings are much more magnified. We have sensory, our sensory abilities are different than normal people. They're the whole sensory system, the ability to have clairaudient, clairvoyant, clairsentient. These are all heightened. There's a heightened sensitivity to who we are, and it is here for the good. It is here for us to be able to tune in. But we have some certain skills that we must learn, or we will become sick. We will not know who we are. It's just part of it, and I feel wrapped within our life purpose. And our contracts, because I am a believer that we come here with certain contracts on planet Earth to learn. Part of that contract is to learn how to ground, what grounding means, that paying our bills and functioning in society is something that we need to learn, because we're highly developed in this other area. And so to get that balance of the yin and the yang energy within us, this is part of the empath's experience, not to mention that we will attract to ourselves many narcissistic relationships, because we need to get that pendulum to the middle. So we're using that left brain rational in addition to the intuitive right empathic brain. It's about coming here to achieve balance within who we are. And otherwise we'll just float off, And of course, there's all different degrees of empathic abilities. Some people are more psychic, some people are just feelers. And then there's many types of empaths in what they feel and where their sensitivities are. Some people are what are called physical empaths, and they literally will feel the physical effects of someone else. If someone has a pain, a bodily pain, they will start to feel that exact same pain. And so I don't know if that answers your question. I went off in the deep end there.
You gave so much information though that I had not even considered or thought about as much as I've looked into, the study of empaths. And I want to dive a little bit more into that is because, one of the things that I struggle with when I hear things about empaths is that with that connection to narcissists, that sometimes it feels like a curse to be an empath because it can attract this. But for me, I know it helped me gain the tools to find myself because of being that was it was so important for me to separate the energy and to understand what was mine and
Yes.
find my self-love. It was because I feel, I am an empath, that I could see that I needed that so bad.
Yes.
And so it was a gift. And for me, it was a gift because it actually helped me find my self love, which has helped me with my natural boundaries, even with being an empath, is being able to go, okay, I'm questioning this energy because it doesn't feel like mine.
Right. Right.
So
Well, with a narcissist, you can sense, and you see that there's a direction towards self, that person is very self-absorbed, and their empathic connections aren't there. They don't just naturally pick up on what the feeling tone is in you or anybody else. And to an empath, that can be a little embarrassing. And so then what we do is we go in and we'll make up for them because they're missing that. So all they've done is swing to the complete other side of, um, because I see everything in gradients. So depending on where you are in the empath scale, you can be over here, way too overgiving, way too trusting, um, way too compassionate, and they are the other stream, or other extreme, um, of the swinging pendulum, right? Of the opposite of those things. And so when we're over here, we're naturally, if when we're too far over, we're naturally going to attract the opposite to us. There's many times people will say, well, you've attracted it because there's something in you that is of a similar vibration. That's true. And I also believe something else is true. If it could be the absolute opposite of what's in you, so that you can learn to bring that pendulum in and have a better filter, more boundaries, and learn how to walk through the earth experience, so you will be more in the middle, using your right intuitive brain in addition to this rational, left logical brain. That's what the empath typically needs to work on, because what an empath is always feeling, they're feeling their, well, I today I think, this is what I feel, so this is what my day is going to be like. But then we function very, bring in the logical, get the schedule down, what do you really want to do today, and what's your life's vision? Because this is another area that is so important, I think, for an empath. Because at a young age, or whenever you began to realize you had this high sensitivity, it was very easy for you to feel people are telling you their story, okay? Because everybody's got a story, and some people have many. You're able to listen to that story, you enter in, and you start to think about it. It becomes your world, and you'll get lost in the feeling of other people's stories and dynamics. Not to mention that many people will tell you these things because you're their comfort level, that they feel good and they know they can trust you. But they'll walk away and you're sitting there all enmeshed in their story. and you've lost your focus, and now you have to go take a nap or go eat, what you're trying to do is get out of that state that you were in and get back into your own story. So, the importance of having a strong story, a strong life vision, okay, is it's imperative to an empath that she or he knows where he's going and how he wants to get there. And if he chooses to use the law of attraction, understanding that his thoughts and his focus create his reality, that even helps more to make it happen in a much more fun way. I think it's not as you don't have to work as hard, but yeah, getting into your life vision and also employing discipline into your life is so important for an empath, because it's so easy for us to get lost in the world of feeling.
So, creating our own story and having a strong purpose. And, I
And
know
that story does have to have purpose,
yeah.
because we are very into um, how can we help the world in some way? How can we make better? We're very compassionate people. We want to make the world better. I'm sorry I interrupted. Go
Oh,
ahead.
it's okay. I'm just trying to make sure I'm getting it all. And then I know for me that self-love piece was huge for
Yes.
for the empowerment, because it's that when we can know that somebody doesn't like us, when they're literally feeling repelled by our energy, and we can feel that, um it's important to know. For me, it was important to know that that's about them.
Yes.
I'm good with me. It's okay
Hmm.
that our energies don't align, and that was a huge thing for me to get to, is not wanting not having to have everybody like me.
Yes. Yes. And I have a little go to that I think in my mind, because, there's a lot of feelings of victimization when you're empathic. Um, but so you have to come up over these things that the mind tell you. Um, and one of them is that piece right there, that they don't like me. Um, and one way that I look at it is the reason that they're not doing this or that or acting this particular way is in my field is made up of certain vibrational elements, and it hold that my field holds this vibration, and anyone who's not supposed to come in at my higher self knows and will not allow those to come in to my vibration, because they're not supposed to, because my higher self, connected to source, is taking me to my life vision, to my dream. And so there's a bigger plan going on here. And it's not about me and them and if I want them in my field or I don't. It's about, I go, okay, I release, I I integrate what's happening with the fact that there's something larger going on that I don't know about, and get my ego out of the way, who's insistent that that person be, because this is my plan and I figured out how I'm going to get to where I'm going. So you see what I'm saying? And so when I have that thing to fall back on, then I'm not really attached to who's in it and who's not.
I it is so similar to how I think of things, and it's why it's like when things don't work out, I'm okay.
Yes.
When energies don't come together at a specific time, I trust that. I fully trust that whoever is in my life for the time that they're there is exactly when they're supposed to be there. If they leave, they were supposed to leave. If they stay, they're supposed to stay until they're not.
Yes. Yes.
And so And
Well, any other way to me is misery.
yes, me
Because
too.
what you're gonna do is now you're gonna push, you're gonna push, you're gonna push to get that person, place, or thing into your field, and you may get them in there, but it won't last if it's not meant to, and it can turn into disaster real quick if that ego keeps pushing. So along with this, there's a dismantling going on also of the ego. It's kind of twofold. When you're an empath, you also, because of practice behavior and the way you've been your whole life, there's tendency to feel so victimized. So how are you going to unload all the feelings of victimization? Because that's a part of your spiritual growth too, is to let go of feeling victimized. Because when you let go of feeling victimized, you won't continue to attract people to you that are victimizing you, correct? You
Yes.
won't. So,
Yes.
you know, that work has to be done as well, because we can get rid of the narcissist. But if we haven't done that inner work of not feeling victimized and, oh, I'm so sensitive and I'm an empath, and we keep telling that story, along another narcissist will come. That narcissist may not have the depth of selfishness, but there will be a layer there that isn't serving us, because we haven't done the work to not feel like a victim.
I literally want to stand up and clap right now. I feel like if I was in a seminar, I would, because that's it. And that's what I noticed with me too, is that it took me releasing that victim.
Yes.
Had to stop feeling like the world was against me, everything was against me, and keep feeling like a victim of my circumstances until I could empower myself. I would keep repeating that pattern. And oh, yes, everything you said. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. And one of the ways, like you said, self love is a big empowerment, but self love is a very deep subject. And there's a lot of components to self love. One of the biggest things I'd have to say to an empath, a highly sensitive person, is try to make sure that you take care of you first, because a habit will develop early in life, and especially when we're little, where we work to please our parents, and until we don't, and then we may become rebellious. But that pleasing of the other person really entrains the brain. Okay. And that entrainment to a highly sensitive person, they feel the effects of not pleasing a lot more than a regular child who maybe has their pendulum in the middle. Okay. And that will motivate us as we get out there in life to always put the other, and then you add in the whole religious uh thing into it too. The Bible says if somebody smacks you on the right cheek, well, just turn your left cheek and let them smack you again. you know it's there's a giving that is taught, and we have to pull that back and first give to ourselves. I remember I used to clean the house and do all these physical duties, and then after that I got to take the bath and wash my hair and take care of me, and I always came last. And if you can begin to first set yourself up in the morning with your journaling, your time, your exercise, your self care, your positive affirmations, and get your day started off that way, you will have plugged a leak, because you'll start to get resentful. Because a lot of times you'll do all those things through the day, and you're still in your pajamas. You've never really done you yet. So that's a big one, I think, is to learn, and it's going to feel uncomfortable when you first start.
So this is the end of our first segment. So if you are watching or listening anywhere but YouTube, this is one you will not want to miss. Go to YouTube at From a Loving Place. It will be in the links on all of the podcast formats and in the Facebook. So in the comment section. So thank you for the first part, and we're going to go diving deep into this because now we're really getting into the meat and potato, like getting down into it, into the stew, because there's so many good points being made here. So thank you. And now we continue on.
All right.
So let's dive deeper into that because you are making so many great points, and I really want to hone in on those things like the victimization, because I feel like that is one that is so overlooked of how we are playing the story in our head. Like the memes that go out there that just repeat the story of victimization for empaths. It's a story of victimization, a story of victimization, a story. And if we buy into that story, we keep it going.
Right. And all the talk about protecting ourselves.
Yes.
That we need to protect ourselves. What we need to do is we need to stand in our power. And let's let go of all this. I gotta protect, because if I say I gotta protect myself, that means there's something big and bad out there. This energy is not big and bad. Yes, it may be dark. Yes, it may be a contracted, because I'd rather see vibration as expansive or contracted. Okay. Expansive or contracted, not negative or positive. This is a place of duality. We have to have both of these energies, and there's many degrees of expansive energy and all the degrees to the worst of contracted energy. So all you're dealing with, if you're dealing with somebody who's supposedly out to get extremely contracted energy, but when you're in your power, you know that that light that is within you, that expansive energy, will literally make that dark will be so uncomfortable, it won't want to be in your presence. So you just keep working on your power. How do I stay in my power and my alignment? And let me observe where I'm being misaligned. Where am I feeling victimized? Where am I feeling, and taking an inventory of that, you know?
I I I got so many chills when you said stand in my power, because that's it.
It's
That
not
really
about
is the language.
protecting yourself. The
Yeah.
protection state comes from a feeling of feeling victimized. And I understand, let's do the protective rituals, and let's protect ourselves with a beam of white light. I don't think these things are bad. I think it's how we process. I'm going to do these things because they're going to help me shine my light bigger and make me feel more empowered, not from a stance of, oh my gosh, I just walked into another room and they're out to get me, you know?
Yeah, because it's the difference of coming from that lack or coming from that abundance, which is from love.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I
it. And
totally
we always,
understand that. Mm-hmm.
am I coming from a place of lack, or am I coming from a place of abundance? That's it right there. And it's sneaky, man. It's sneaky stuff, because that victim will pop in. And, I've been doing this work really a lot of my life. I mean, many, many years, and different layers of it, of course. But I still watch that little victim come in. It can be the slightest little thing. But you have to remember how long we've been practicing feeling victimized.
Oh,
You
I
know,
agree. And it's so important to remember that we're all on a path. It's not we get there. Like we're on a journey. We're gonna be on this journey. And it's not like it just all of a sudden an aha moment comes and we get it and it never happens again. It's just it doesn't happen that way. I've
no,
never seen it happen that way.
it doesn't.
Yeah. So, and I love what you say about that too, because it really is such a powerful way to look at it, because one of the things that has driven me, and I spent a year doing it, is aligning myself with the energy of love, abundance, and peace over fear, lack, and separation. So I was bringing my attention to where I was putting my energy daily, and so
Yes.
I was staying accountable for my energy. And it was amazing to me to see, oh, when my energy goes here, when I look at things like I use social media all the time for this, because it's a great tool to see where your energy's going. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
what am I looking at? What am I clicking on? Am I clicking on things that are about empowering myself, of coming from my power, or am I looking at what's disempowering? And it
Right.
really does, when we bring our energy into that awareness to these things, we really do see it so much more. And then when we can see it, that's when we can shift it.
That's right. When we see it, we can shift it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we fall asleep again.
Yes.
Now, I do want to say that there are levels of everything. There's levels of conscious awakening. And I do believe it's very important to go through the experience of, first of all, recognizing you're an empath, and then owning the fact that you're different, and feeling some of those feelings of victimization, because there's a lot of good juicy stuff there to grab onto. As you raise in consciousness, you then come to the realization you don't want to be a victim, and you'll begin to work with the inner bully, the inner critic, that internal family, so to speak, that has grabbed on to the victimization. But I think it's a level. It's kind of like, levels of schooling, and that is a level of I need to protect myself. But that's a level. But I ask the people I work with to try to raise up to another level and see it through the eyes of a victor, not a victim, and what that might feel like, because it feels better. And we are always attracting from our feelings. So it's so imperative that we feel good and we tell stories of empowerment.
Well, and you bring up such a good, important point, and because what you're saying, like how I'm interpreting it is like, that's where toxic positivity can fall in. We can fall into that trap if we have not allowed ourselves to feel our feelings completely in whatever the experience is. And if,
Correct.
and if part of that is victim, then part of that is victim of that experience. And if we don't allow ourselves to be there for a little bit, we don't get the gifts from it,
That's right. That's
because
right. And I mean,
that's the
there's the
toxic. Yeah.
there's the person who's being abused. They don't even know or aren't in touch with how they're feeling. It's all about the abuser's feeling. And that's a level or state of consciousness. Then they go into, I feel victimized and I'm going to stand up now and stop this. So a lot of boundaries are set in the feeling victimized state of consciousness. That's why it can be useful. But keep going and move yourself up so you won't keep attracting to you.
Yes, it's about not staying stagnant in the energy, not
That's right.
not staying in it, like to have the feelings of it, but not get into the energy of fear, lack, and separation. Whereas, so you fully experience it and then can release it, because that's when I feel like that's when like all the people show up. When that awareness hits and you start feeling stuff, all these people, all these videos that you need to see, all these things you need to read start appearing
Mhm.
to help you move with it, but only if you're willing to face it first.
That's right. You have to look at it.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
so
and you have to want
such
to
an
look
important
at.
point. Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
even like thinking of our conversation now where we were talking, I'm coming from a level here, but if someone's down there, I don't want them to think, "Oh, just jump." You know,
Right. Right.
because I know for me, it was important for me to feel all of it, feel it fully, because I couldn't see my own stuff if I didn't.
Yeah, and you can't make yourself get out of that state of victimization until you fully learn what you need from that. But
So true.
the the thing is that we get tired of suffering. So then the mind will go, "Oh, wow. That thought I'm feeling as though I always need protection. I can't go to parties now. I'm in the, I'm always, oh, now I'm isolated because all this is coming at me. That doesn't feel good." So that's when the soul higher self says, let's take it to a higher level. You are empowered. We're here. This energy is here to help you feel empowered. And then you start to do these things. First of all, I mean, I talked about not listening to the stories of other people, or at least not taking their stories on, but eventually it gets to, what story are we telling ourselves? And how are we going to tell a new story? And what do we want in that story? And so if you create, I have a little sheet here that I use because I have clients that I see on a weekly, monthly basis, as intuitive counseling clients. And when we begin to design their story, their life vision, I have them look at this life balance assessment sheet. And this is the different areas of the life of your life, for instance, love, relationships, home environment, your work environment. These are all the areas that we experience through life, and how much balance, how much satisfaction do you have with those particular areas. And this is very eye-opening to see where our leaks are, to see what we don't want in our vision, what we really do want. And once you can start to form that, you're not going to give the time to other people's stories that you naturally would, unless, of course, that's your job and you're getting paid for it. That's a different thing, right? But I always tell people, or say to people when they tell me that they listen to somebody for 2 hours and they listen to them every week for 2 hours and it's the same story over and over, I say, well, did you get paid for that? Because your time is worth something. And you might as well be giving it to your life vision to help the world, as opposed to somebody else who is just keeps running in the hamster wheel. They're not making the change. And it's not really your job to change them unless they're paying you, you know? And I'm not saying don't help a friend out. It's when it's constant and these are what we call energy vampires, you know? They don't know how to empower themselves, so they're using your words and your vibration to fill them up. And then you end up getting the leaks because you become resentful. It's very easy to become resentful, but we don't know how to say no.
Oh, and it, yes. And I do love that when you find that power place, you become more aware of the energy vampires
Yeah, she
and
did.
you learn
They
how to
all
cut
pop
them
out.
off. And you learn too, like I can go to a party and trust where my energy leads me.
Mm-hmm.
And I trust if it's like pushing away from this area, that means do not go there.
Right.
Do not go over there.
And
And
listen, and
yeah,
you have to listen to it. Don't go, don't
yeah,
test it.
yeah. You don't have to go there. And I mean, I've had people try to yell at me from across a table at a party to talk to me. And I'm like going, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. We'll talk later. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
no,
Right.
I'm not going to absorb that. Thank you.
Garage doors down.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
and that is the thing with being an empath, people are attracted to tell you their stories. And if my energy is aligned with them, I trust that. I trust that
Mhm.
there's a reason they need to tell me their stories. And I will trust that whatever comes out of my mouth is what is supposed to, and what comes out of theirs is what's supposed to, for them to get whatever realization they need to get. But then there's that, if a person is toxic, I, I, I do have that feeling that says, no,
Mhm.
just no.
Yes, I can't go there. This is not healthy for me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
And then we have to get off our egos enough to admit this is not healthy for me. We
yeah,
don't have to be these strong arms that can be in every situation. We know ourselves and have learned about ourselves enough to know what will work for us and what won't, you know. It's
yeah,
just it's just as important as saying, if somebody asks you something and you have to always say, "Oh yeah, I know that. I know about that." What what about we just say, "I really don't know anything about that." We need to be humble. We need to get off this ego's constant need for approval and self-gratification and
hmm,
really do that. Not only the victimization work, but also that dismantling of the ego. Um, you know,
and that's why I always tell people too, because I know for me, I had to do it, is it's okay to walk away and not say anything.
yes.
It's okay. You do not have to, like, I had a guy honking at a neighbor that was irate with me because I wouldn't speak to him because he crossed a boundary with me. I had nothing to
Hmm.
say.
Yeah,
And he's like, "Oh, that's real mature and all this." But I'm like, it's the healthiest thing for me.
yeah. You
Not
don't have to
engage
say
in that
anything.
energy.
Let him keep that energy to himself. Many times when we engage, we pull that we pull on the energy. That's why don't try to change people, because you're taking away something that they need, and you're wanting to change them, and is your need to have the outside change, not work on the inside that really needs the change. Let people be who they are, because they'll show you really quick who they are, and if they've got your back and if they don't. And you just it's just it can be very disappointing, but I'd rather be disappointed and find out the truth than keep trying to change somebody and pretend that 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 they were somebody different than I thought they were.
No, and that just it just makes their relationship healthy, unhealthy, and toxic anyway.
Yeah, and
When we're trying to do that. Yeah.
what you were saying to that person was, this isn't up for discussion.
Yeah.
And if you don't want something up for discussion, in that moment, you have the responsibility to empower yourself and cut off communication if that's what you want, or stop the conversation by not responding. People love an argument. The egos love to get the person into the argument, into the bicker, and then we've got two egos going back and forth. You're going to walk away from the situation and go, why did I let my ego get involved? So many times, just shutting it down. I'm not going to talk about this. I'm finished. I'm done. You know, that's a good habit to get into if you'll get triggered,
Yeah.
you know?
Well,
And
and
we
it's
know what our triggers are.
oh yeah. I mean, I even have to with my kids, if I feel my energy too enmeshed with theirs and want to go into a battle, sometimes I'm like, I need a timeout. Because
Yeah.
then because my ego will get in the way and I'll get into that battle. And I need to be like, if I'm in that conscious place, I'm grateful when I am that I can say, wait, nope. I need the timeout first because I need to be able to communicate clearly. And I can't. If my ego's engaged like this, I'm not going to be able to communicate clearly or hear
Right.
them. I
Right.
won't be able to
Now
hear them.
I call these little things in us our little pain bodies. And the ego wraps around that pain body, or however you want to look at it. We all have these little pain bodies, these unhealed wounds, and they fester, and they will literally, as an empath, you can have somebody's pain body, an emotional one or a physical one, where you walk away, person has a cold. That's a physical, but you also can have the emotional pain body attached to you as well. Okay. Giving a lot of compassion or empathy to somebody who's a heavy smoker and they've recently quit. Before you know it, you're back smoking again a week later. You literally took from them a pain body that wasn't getting fulfilled in them because they quit, and you can be susceptible to that. So I think we have to, be aware of what people's pain bodies are and be hyper vigilant on how was I feeling before I entered the conversation or the relationship, and how do I feel now? What have I possibly taken on from them that through my compassion I wasn't aware of? Habits, eating habits, drinking habits can sometimes come that aren't always ours. Now, the propensity was always there, okay, within us, because we had a weakness in the area of addiction somewhere, but that compassion can make that transfer happen. And so that's when we need to do the cleansing, the clearing of the energy field, and this is your sacred space, and where you read, where you fill your energy up is super important. Make for an empath, make your a space where it's just so nourishing, so nourishing, because what we really lack is this nourishing peace, that loves us and loves us exactly for who we are, because we came in with this extremely high sensitivity, um, and we many times, that third chakra, that solar plexus, is really taking a hit. Our self-esteem, um, our self-confidence. And so what we need is that feminine, nurturing space to sit in and play the beautiful music and fill yourself up with that wonderful love that you're unable to give yourself at times because we're so busy doing for everybody else. And also the world, it's hard out here. We'd rather sit and read and feel than to have to do many of these tasks. You think about how much our day is spent on just survival, you know, and that's rather boring and unfeeling to a feeler, you know.
It makes so much sense.
Yeah.
So much sense. Oh. So before we end, is there anything you want to leave the audience with?
I cannot stress how important it is to put together your life vision, pieces in it of all the areas of life that the things you want to achieve, and search for your purpose and what gives you joy and what has purpose and meaning. What are the pieces of your life that you get inspired from? Wherever inspiration seeps in and comes in, and you notice you're moving a little faster, you're smiling a little more, and you'll feel lighter. Those are the areas that pertain to the purpose of your life and your passion, and can feed into a vision and get a strong vision of what you want your life to look like and who you want to be. And then do things daily, weekly, monthly to bring those into being. And I, of course, would want you to use the law of attraction and understanding having a good sense of how you create your reality as well. Um, and know that this universe, there is this source here for us. It's called many different things, but everything that's going on, whether it looks like something bad is happening to you, this source wants to take you to your goal and is arranging all divine lineups. And just because you look at this particular thing as not good or not in the plan, don't go into feeling like you're unsupported. Understand that that was not supposed to be in the plan to take you to your dream. It is a piece of energy that had to be dealt with and come up. Stay unattached and keep moving toward your dream and allowing this sifting process to go on, because that's all that's happening. Is there's a sifting, and these negative things, so-called negative, I want to call them contracted things, will come up, and we easily let them go. But we get all identified and start feeling victimized, and oh, source left me out. Why did source do this? I truly believe if you can have that viewpoint that there is a power greater than I that is leading me into every situation, whether it looks good or bad. And my job is to keep releasing, keep surrendering to this bigger vision, and keep holding that vision. Don't give up on the vision, because believe me, you will see your future coming into alignment. It will happen. It will happen. You just have to keep bringing a victor to it of consciousness, not a victim.
Thank you so much. And whoever listened to this full segment and series, know that you were meant to be here to hear it. So there's a reason you're hearing it, if it's in front of you. And I really trust that when it comes to everything in my life, is that there's a reason it shows up right when it does. So
That's
trust
right.
where you are. Thank you so much, Cynthia. It has been an
Thank
absolute
you,
pleasure.
Rachel. Yes, I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Make sure to follow the links that accompany this episode. You will learn a lot more about today's guest and see what they have going on now. You will also get all the links to follow them on their journeys if this seed resonates with you. Come back next week for another Seed of Wisdom. If you loved what you saw or listened to, don't forget to subscribe to the channel.